just yeah. This is this is a little strange. I'm being interviewed for by a radio station in Ljubljana. I'm a little nervous because I don't get you big city guys down here. This is Jože Markovic. Say hi.
Dobar dan. Hi.
Yeah, he's not. He's a radio guy. This is a radio interview, and I wanted to film both of us, and he actually refused. I mean, it's like, what if I said, yeah, you can interview me, but I only need to be filmed. I don't go on radio. So it'd be an odd sort of thing. That's the dog who likes visitors, and luckily
Definitely not a monkey.
Definitely not a monkey. No, monkey's here just to make me feel secure. So he's done the introduction. They can do editing and all that shit. I can't. So I said, just can we stop and put this on? So I guess you want to start the interview. Are you ready? Because
I am ready. You're gonna keep your emotional support animal with you?
It's not an emotional support animal. It's a enemy.
It's an enemy.
It's trying to get away. Yeah. Okay.
So Rick,
yeah.
2019.
They don't know what you're going to cut that, right? Because your listeners can't hear that.
We will see that later.
Yeah. Okay. Are you going to say 2019?
Yes, again.
Interesting. Because I don't know.
2019 gave us Corona. Huh?
Oh,
and
late 2019.
Exactly, and then 2020. April, if I'm not mistaken, gave us Corona Samizdat.
I get clever.
Did you see the bridge?
You can see this is a radio guy. I am an amateur. This
it's not
is
my
pro.
first interview, Rick. So
okay, yeah.
Tell us a little something about the
okay, he wants to know Corona Samizdat, as you know, is my press, and that's one reason I wanted to do this, because we were talking about my press, a little extra propaganda. Okay, and I like to tell this story as quickly as possible, because if it's like literary news or literary gossip, then it is. But if it's with people you don't know, it's not so interesting. So anyway, I don't know who to look at. There's my dog's over there. Jože's here, and Gorilla Hemingway's here. Well, once in a while we'll pull out the books we're talking about. You've seen them, but anyway, okay.
We're not talking about them yet, though. So,
but we are, because I'm going to tell the story quickly. I had a publisher for these two books in the United States, and at the publication date was put back 4 times, and on the 5th date, I found out he wasn't going to be ready, but we had scheduled a big for a little press, or for him, he's a little press. We'd scheduled a big review, and I'm just checking to see that you're getting me. We'd scheduled a big review, and of a booktuber, they call him now, but a book reviewer who's extremely good. His name is Chris Villa, and his thing is Leaf by Leaf, if you're interested in literature. I see you're not writing this down, but I guess you have it recorded. So he was not going to have my books ready to sell on the date that he was supposed to. And this guy who had read the first book, Manifold Destiny of Eddie Vegas, 700-page book, and is going to do a review of it, and he loved it. And, and there's going to be no book out, or there's going to be an advanced copy which had some things that are missing from the main
missing
book.
The deadline was something that occurred with your books only, or with others as well?
Oh, good question. He's probably never met a deadline in his life. One guy that we both published, I published a guy because once I left his press, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. He misses all deadlines. But this was, he misses his deadline. He's a writer of sorts also, so he misses his own deadlines. in fact, one of the reasons that I left him is, besides all of the other stuff, I found out. No, I found out later. I guess he committed fraud. He actually sold his own book and kept the money and didn't send the book. The book was out of print, and he owed his printer too much for the printer to do him a favor. And so, you know, what I would do if I was out of a book is someone would say, you know, I would like to buy this, and I'd say, well, I'll let you know when it's back in print.
Exactly.
It's very important to me not to let anything go out of print. But anyway, so I left him and published those books, and it was also quick and easy, and the infrastructure was in place, and I used the help of my Slovene publisher. You've heard of Amelietti and Amelietti,
Of course.
which is an unfortunate story. Amelietti has died, and therefore my press is in the process of turning into a društvo. Sorry, društvo is a Slovene thing we all know here, but it's a non-profit organization. And so you could say that gave us Corona Samizdat, and it was Samizdat because I still wanted to sell Eddie Vegas in the United States to a big press. It should be published there, but I was not going to wait, and so I put on there not for sale in the United States. Though, of course, you know, if you know how to get it, you know, you could. Are you not listening? Sorry, that was to my dog. For you listeners out there, you're one up on my dog. So where was I? Yeah, so a friend of mine, and a worthy writer, a little bit older than me, David Vardaman, never been published in book form. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. A little bit of money, and I can, you know, I have a press.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, and I had already thought of continuing the press to support a couple writers that might get screwed by the same guy, and we'll get to that, I suppose. But this guy, David Vardaman, a great writer, I thought, I can publish Vardaman. And that was kind of when the press took off. I then retrieved some of my own books and republished it. This is my first three books were a trilogy, and I put them all in one right here. Yeah. Does your microphone pick this up?
So the Driftless trilogy, yes.
Yeah.
By Rick Harsch. So this is what you republished.
Yeah, they were published individually.
Okay.
And they were also published in France. They may have ruined a French company which went bankrupt right after. Well, no, they did. They went bankrupt right after they turned it into a pocketbook for, you know, stalls and traffic and, you know, places like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and so since then, I guess, you know, I brought out one copy of all the books, and then I thought, wait a minute, I show the books here on YouTube and on Instagram, and you know, and you bring your radio. So there, for those of you out there, to my right is everything I published in the last year, and it's a pretty well. What do you think?
It's a nice display of books there.
Yeah, of course you don't know what any of them are.
Not yet. I can see them all. But which are the ones that you are particularly proud of publishing?
Oh, well, I don't like the word pride, but I have the most emotional attachment to this one.
Tell us about it.
Well, why don't you? Because you're the radio guy. You see.
I see a snakeskin covered book.
Yeah, this is a book that I got $4,000 for last year from a press in the U.S. who eventually turned it down for reasons that were obscure. But I mean, you know, they gave me 4 out of the 6 that I was supposed to have coming. It's called Arjuna and the Good Snake, being an ophidiological account of 6 weeks in India without alcohol, and it's kind of it's a a memoir, and it's a confessional about bad behavior due to alcohol. It's also a study of snakes and a good introduction to India. And I guess there's a great deal about my relationship with my son in India.
And yet another monkey, I see.
Well, yeah, the monkey's drinking alcohol. It was the actual picture before it was photoshopped was a monkey drinking a Pepsi that it had stolen from me. But I was able to. Somebody had once given me a cobra skin, and I was able to get 3 covers. There's a little leather there, which upset one of my writers. For now, if they were all cobra skin, I could see, but
So I see that the monkey is a reoccurring thing. Oh,
somebody's calling me.
we're getting interrupted.
I don't know if there are onions in here, but
We're doing a show,
sorry.
so
Thank you very much.
I can't.
Thank you.
My wife just came in and very kindly offered something.
Girl, I have tomato.
Thank you.
Homemade burek.
Homemade burek. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We're not going to do this over because you can cut. And if I knew how to do this, I could cut.
So the monkey,
But I can't.
the monkey seems to be a reoccurring thing at the moment. The monkey on your lap and the monkey on the cover of your book. Is there with the books you publish a reoccurring theme or genre or
Django?
jungle? Well, again with the monkeys, but are the people that are involved in your press, are they connected in some way?
The people in the press.
The people that
And
you're
you mean?
publishing.
I mean, yeah, are you asking? I think I think what he just asked me is, are the other writers in my press monkeys? Is that what you mean?
I'm just fishing. Just fishing.
Okay. No.
Okay.
No, I mean the monkeys are important to me, and I have a book in Slovene called Kramberger z opico, which means Kramberger with monkey. That'll be coming out, probably part of a flip book with Adriatica Deserta. But that's enough about me, and you're trying to talk about my other writers.
Exactly.
Yeah. What exactly do you want to know about my other writers? I with the exception of the 2 writers who I published because they were going to be screwed by Riverboat, all of them are writers that I very gladly accepted, decided with, and
Exactly.
but
If the riverboat is a sinking ship, you need
Yeah.
to abandon.
right,
That's
but I think it's still alive.
Yeah, only the
And-
rats stay till the ship goes under.
Oh no, we got 2 good guys. Well, okay, I'm not gonna lie because we're not naming names. One of them, the book is great, and the other one, the book it's a first novel by a really talented guy, but there are some problems in the book that I would have asked him to change. There's some juvenilia,
Okay.
but at the same time, there's some brilliant sentences, in the same book. Suleiman, he wants some of this burek. So the question was about the other writers.
About the other writers. So there are a couple of them that came from riverboat books.
Yeah, and the others, I could go in order. Vardaman was someone totally, he probably had decided, I'll never publish a book in my life, but he still wrote, And another one, the next one, besides the others, just this guy's worth pointing out, because this will give you an idea of, it's called Unidentified Man at Left of Photo by a Canadian guy named Jeff Percy. Can you tell your listeners what you see?
I see either llamas or alpacas.
There are a bunch of llamas, and they're looking all at one direction, towards the left of the photo, where there is no man. So there's an unidentified man at left of photo, while he got cropped out. But this is a very funny and brilliant postmodern book by a guy who, if the literary world were fair and sane, would never need to be published by a by a nobody like me in a place like Isla.
Exactly.
You know, this guy, his first novel was a brilliant satire, but a satire of Canadian political process. So he actually reproduced the process. And the problem with that book, if you went by Slavo, if you went by the quality of the book, that book is in the the 90s percentile. All right, with the best books written at that time, or even in my lifetime. But I read the book, and I don't know Canadian political processes, so I don't know when people are just being typical semi-comic or irritating jackasses, and when it's satire.
Yeah.
And so the brilliance of the book was such that I could not tell it was satire, and and so it was not as fun to read as this, because this he kind of, well, I don't want to do a book review because there are too many books involved, but he's a Canadian guy, and should be very well known, and is not. And so I published him. I was happy to have him, and he expresses his gratitude to me.
In which way?
Well, he buys, typically what the thing is about a small press. It's not like a big press. If you because it's smaller, and
Of course.
but I don't know if okay, forget Slovenia. We'll just, because we're talking about something I know, which is U.S. publishing. You have your giant presses like let's see if I can see like, I don't know. Penguin is worldwide, but Scribner's, or I don't even know if they exist anymore. But when you have a big press in the United States, they have all kinds. I don't know how many books they publish a year, but the writers have no necessary. They don't necessarily have any affiliation. Like if Penguin called me up and said, "Hey, we heard about your book. Can we take a look?" Because I don't have an agent. And if you don't have an agent, you're screwed. So, but if that happened, let's say, and they, Suleiman, Slavo, that means bad, and it's the only way to keep him from barking. Because if you say tiho, which is shut up, the problem is you can break that down in Slovene to ti, meaning you, and the way dogs bark in Slovene children's books is they go ho. So tiho means you bark, and so it's very, very difficult.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it's very confusing. Where was I in the interview?
Well,
wait, that's your question.
You drifted off again, but let's see. So people.
Wait, don't. When you say drifted off, it also means you fell asleep.
Well, it's always.
Let them know that I'm awake.
With you, it's always you can drift off and still keep talking. That's one of your great qualities.
It's called eloquaciousness.
That's
That's a copy of Eloquence and Loquacious. I got it from my friend Bob.
So
yesterday.
the question was, how do they support?
Can I smoke on radio?
Of course.
Okay.
How do they support the small press?
Who?
The writers.
Oh.
You mentioned that before.
Yeah, okay, because the question was, what I was getting at with the big press is that, if they come to me, it's not like with the big press you can write them and say, hey, I got a friend who, you might want to publish. They'll be like, yeah, everybody's got 50 friends. And, But with the small press, if somebody says, I got a friend that you might want to publish, and it's a guy like Jeff Bursey, he's also a good critic, and you listen, and you pay attention, and, so, but what's important about that in terms of my press is there's an affiliation with the press that's unofficial, and there's also every small press is hurting for money,
Of course, especially now.
and so with one exception, everybody buys books. Like here's I keep thinking it's like we're on here, but we're
Everywhere.
we're on radio. Okay, I was reaching for a book by a pseudonymous writer. We call her Vesna Radic, and it's erotic literature. It's really good literature, but it's an erotic book called Tendrolopolis. She is not really writing anymore, but I contacted her. I met her at one of these writing things for people living in. And that's what this is, by the way. He announced it. I didn't do it properly, but this is a show about people from outside of Slovenia and what they're doing in Slovenia. Did I say that before?
Well, we did, but you didn't.
Oh, okay, fuck it. Anyway, can you say fuck it on the radio?
I
never
will
mind.
edit it out.
You can't. Yeah, big. Anyway, the woman I met her at one of these places where a bunch of people read in their own language, and somebody else translates it. And I kind of hunted her down. She's back in Serbia, and she's quit writing basically. But she had, I said, do you have any old stuff? And I got her finally to reveal that she has this book that I've now published, and she said, I just don't want you to use my name. I said, well, what about your picture? So she sent a picture that you can't, decipher. So we've got this book, and you know what she did? She bought one of every book. I think there were 13 up to that point. She bought all 13 books.
Okay.
That we had published.
Yeah.
And, Vardaman buys, he's usually put me down for the next book. He's the first to buy. Other guys, Bursey, there's another Canadian that we're going to put out soon, a guy named W.D. Clark. They did buy periodically. But we have one who stopped buying from the press and has basically been... I don't know, real. It's a story, man. I wouldn't say his name on radio and all that, but
If it's not important.
No, it's extremely important, but it's not important enough to, name names and But just to give you an idea of how the press works, we're close because we're all, I don't ask much of the writers. And they don't ask much of me because my answer would be no. I'm not a proofreader. I don't want to be a proofreader. I don't want to read 50 manuscripts a month looking for the best one. And plus one of my guys is dead. I ask nothing of him. I ask his widow for permission to publish his books, and he's a great writer. And this is really a coup. Chandler Brossard, by the way. But the other guy, I don't know. We had a little bit of a run-in, and since even before then, he had stopped really. He did a great review of my first book, but doesn't buy any of mine since then, and I find it really astonishing because some of what we're putting out. I mean, if you want the people who are in the community of buyers and readers. These are people who want the best of the latest.
Okay.
And we're putting that out. We're putting out some potential masterpieces. And I would go into that more, but I think we've wasted a lot of time on various other things. How long has it been? How long it's a 30-minute program. I don't know people. So I'll give you a story.
Tell me.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
I wasn't going to do this, but since I'm not naming names, and we're in Slovenia, and who knows, my YouTube, not many people watch. But this guy, um, he wrote a review of David Vardaman's book. You know, and that's something you do in the press. You read each other's books, and you write a review about them.
Yeah.
But if you don't like the review, what do you do? I mean, if you don't like the book, what do you do with your review? Well, the best thing is you don't say anything.
Exactly.
You know, or you just give it 4 or 5 stars. You know, but if you're going to write a review, and Vardaman would tell you the same, if your feeling is the good and the bad are both there, he wants to tell us.
Yeah.
Give me a 3 instead of a 5, but tell me what it's about. The guy gave him a 5, but wrote a review that had gave the book the merit of a 3 or so, and but written in such a way that people would buy it as if it was a 1 or a 0, because he used the word cliche.
Okay. Yeah.
And but he gave no examples. In fact, this book I'm holding, as you can see on your radio audience can see, has a novel and 13 stories. And out of 14 pieces, this guy did not describe a single story, and wrote a bunch of stuff that was completely unrelated.
Negative, I assume.
No, he was dancing around that. And he even wrote a couple of positive statements that did not make any sense in context.
Okay.
And so, you know, it was actually a damaging and terrible review. And I told him that, and you know, he said to me, this is creepy. He said to me that he draws the line of friendship at criticizing his critiques. So what I did, I waited a while, and then he mouthed off one more time against Vardaman. And you know, my thing is, you know, if you don't like something, don't, you know, like when I reviewed his book, you know, the part that I would have asked him to revise, had I been his first editor, I didn't say anything about it.
Okay.
You know, you don't say anything about it. Just emphasize the positive, and what, you know, the worst that happens is somebody says, Jesus, harsh didn't say anything about this. He's a lousy reviewer.
Yeah.
But you don't hurt the book, and you don't hurt the writer. And so he, you know, so what I did, and the reason, you'll see why it's worth going on about. On Goodreads. This is on Goodreads. Take place on Goodreads. That's your field of play. And so it's not like the New York Times. But, you know, plenty of people read Goodreads, and if somebody looks up Vardaman and the first thing they see is this review, they're going to go, oh, cliche. You know, and they're, you know, you can also tell by the writing, this guy is a talented writer. And this was probably the worst review I've ever seen him write. He's done some terrific reviews. Like when he really likes something, he can do some great reviews. And so, you know, that you'd open Goodreads after going to my website. Let me just see if anybody's read Vardaman. Oh,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I thought, you know, what would be very interesting is Vardaman is one of my writers. This guy is one of my writers, and I'm the publisher. What if I wrote, and it was a 5-star, that's the top, review of one of my writers. What if I wrote a review of the 5-star review criticizing the 5-star review of one of my writers? You see?
Yeah.
And so I thought that would be interesting for Goodreads, you know. And so I did write that review, and I posted it. And it disappeared. And
Somebody took it off.
yeah, but you know, I can't take something off.
Yeah.
Who can do it? Well, they have what are called Goodreads librarians.
Okay.
And this writer, who I was criticizing, his review, he censored me. His own publisher.
To be clear, a writer that is on that shelf over there, that pile of books. There.
Yeah, one of my writers that I nearly took his book out of circulation, actually.
Because of this?
Yeah, because, well, it goes further. 4 times I sent that in, twice just in the review section, and I was thinking, like, can someone do that? Can a librarian? I knew he was a librarian, but what is a librarian at Goodreads? I don't even know. I don't know what powers they have. I assume that if they want to take something down, it has to be that it clearly broke.
Explicit, whatever.
Yeah, like it said, that book is the tits.
Yeah.
Well, then you might probably have to have a meeting,
Yeah.
Do we use vernacular or not? But, this book is a piece of shit. Probably you can't write that. You have to say that in 9 more words.
Of course. Yeah.
And I'm not saying caca. But anyway, so I put it up again, and it was gone again. And then I thought, twice? It's got to be this guy. He's fucking censoring, without discussion, on his own volition, his own publisher. So then I've got a page on Goodreads for my books, my press.
Yeah.
And so I posted it there. But this guy helped me set that page up and has access to it. So he took it down. So I posted it again. And he took it down and kicked me out of my own group. My press, he was the moderator. I was no longer the moderator. And I could not post anything there.
And this was when?
This was December 10th. When you remember the date, it's like... And what ended up happening is he was very, very scared that I was going to go on some place where he could not,
could not control
do anything.
content.
And he really panicked. He started contacting a lot of people we both knew, which is just not, and saying I was toxic, which is another cliche. Now that's a cliche. So he started, going on and on about that. And then he was afraid that I would go further, and he needed to. Oh, he also went to my website, and there's a public discussion page, and he eliminated that because he helped me fix my webpage. And so you see, this is obviously insane behavior. Or, I don't know, I leave it to you. What do you think?
I don't know, it seems to me like it's a certain behind one's back kind of thing.
Well, we're talking censorship.
Of course, we're talking censorship.
And so,
but censorship could be possible is a big word. But when discussing stuff, you can agree to take something off after discussing a certain part. But once you already take stuff off because you think it's censorship that needs to happen, that's one man's censorship. That's scary stuff. When one man starts to censor things, that makes me think of, I don't know, Russian type of control.
I think a German, but
it reminds me as well of 1940, 1945. That's when stuff.
Actually, it's probably the 30s. In Russia, people already knew that they get shot, so they censored themselves. And in Nazi Germany, it became clear early on that maybe you shouldn't, do that. But they had book burnings. To me, this is a book burning.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you go public with that, or you go to another person. And if you went to another librarian, the other librarian would say, well, I can see why you don't like it because it's about you. And, but it's only a criticism, right? Write a rebuttal. And that's what I was naive enough to think would happen, is that we would have a discussion. And I was thinking what was most important to me about that was how you don't want all the reviews on Goodreads to be fluffy fives. You want some good reviews.
Yeah.
I would have liked this guy, who's very smart and talented, I have to say, again and again, because I'm, basically telling you that he's, should be institutionalized. Really, when people, censorship is as bad as it gets for a writer. Let's face
Of
it.
course.
For me, and now if he read it, one thing he could have done is contacted me and said, why are you writing such a savage piece? And I'd say, okay, what do you think is savage? And then, but a good faith effort would have softened it,
Exactly.
and a great deal of begging might have kept me from writing it at all. But no, I'd already written it, so I was going to, but I would have with a good faith effort, But then taking over the press and all that is just, crazy. And he's writing one of my best friends and telling him I'm toxic. And, Vardaman says to him, Rick's not toxic. What are you talking about? What you did today is, just out of order,
Yeah.
And so, anyway, what happened was I just, said, he's never to this day actually recognized. He said, you did some things wrong, I did some things wrong.
So that's from December 10th up until today. That's been going on.
Well, no, that went on, and what he did cleverly was he got me. I told him, you need to put that back up. You need to give me control of my press. You need to fix. I'll tell you that in a second. Anyway, the main thing, in a way, was to get that published. But what he did is he changed his own review so that mine made no sense anymore, and so there was no point in publishing it. And I also thought, after all this shit, it's not so important. So I already decided I wouldn't publish it, although I told him I was gonna, because I wanted him to, agree that I have the right to do so.
Yeah.
I also wrote Goodreads and asked them to look into this, because you want a guy like this to be your, librarian. I should be a librarian.
Any response to that?
No response from Goodreads. They're very big. But if I were the librarian, and I'd be, anybody writes something bad about me, I gotta, it's just, it's obviously something that would be against their rules if they looked into it.
Of course.
But
so what's the situation now then?
Well, I just found out that he, and I suppose this is why it's on my mind, and I hope you're, this is good old writer gossip, and I hope your listeners enjoy it for that. There are a lot of small presses out there.
Yes.
And, when somebody comes across something that he thinks would be a good book for a small press, like if I myself found that Chandler Broussard's great books, I'm holding it up for you to see, try to get Yoge on television.
We'll do our best. We can put something on our website as well.
Very good, very good. Anyway, so I found that, but if one of my writers, like Bercy, if Bercy found Broussard, he would have brought it to me. He wouldn't have gone to some other small press. Well, there's this very, very once somewhat well-known but excellent writer that this guy got to know through interviews. He did an interview with this guy, and apparently there's a loose book out there that he doesn't have published. And this other press that I mentioned, did I mention this while we were on radio, Betimes Books?
You didn't yet.
Oh, there's an excellent press in Dublin, and it's a small press just like mine. And we're exchanging books right now. A wonderful and talented translator, and I don't know if she writes, but person runs that press, and she's inadvertently mentioned, that this guy, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't be publishing this guy named Abel Pose, and so on top of everything else, he went to another small press with a discovery of a book.
Yeah.
And so that's where we stand now. But we're not really on speaking terms, but we're on just like if neutral is 0 and 5 is negative and 5 is positive, we're at +1 on the social media scale, where you say, once in a while you say good when someone else posts something or is named in a post or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's utterly ignoring everything that our press puts out, and except his own book. But I suppose he had a bit of a problem because he had his own book. Somebody in Belgium ordered 3 books,
Yeah.
and Skulls of Istria, Unidentified Man That Left a Photo, and his book. And and he said, "Thanks for the support."
Yeah.
But he's not doing any supporting himself. And the interesting thing is that early on he criticized Vardaman, a 64-year-old man, for not supporting the press. But Vardaman supports the press the way a 64-year-old man does. He's written a couple of things. He's writing an introduction. He's written one introduction. He's going to write another. And he buys the books. You want to support my press? Anybody out there on the radio, you want to support my press? Buy a book. It's coronasamizdat.com.
Uh-huh.
And
We'll put that on the website as well.
yeah.
Put a link.
Yeah, of course you will. You told me half an hour, so I guess you're going to be cutting some of this.
I just wanted to tell you that we're going to wrap things up. I have one last question, and that is basically, what is the next book you're going to publish? Do you have any idea what your next not your book personally, but what your press is going to publish?
It's really unfortunate that you didn't ask that before. We could have skipped all the dirty stuff, because I could talk for an hour about
our
this.
listeners want some dirty stuff as well, so I'm happy we
Okay,
got to the
good.
dirt.
The next on my birthday, May 17th, we're going to bring out a book called America and the Cult of the Cactus Boots, written by Philip Friedenberg of Buffalo, New York, illustrated by Jeff Walton of Buffalo, New York. They're friends. And it's a book about a guy who buys The Manifold Destiny of Eddie Vegas, and he's waiting for the book to come, and then you've got over 700 pages. Maybe we'll be able to print it in 600 pages that we're going to try. But it's from what I've seen, it's probably going to be the best book we ever publish. And I include my best in there, Chandler Brassard's best in there, and even Jeff Bursey. And anyway, I think that's going to be the best book we publish.
Nice. I hope at the time you will come back to our show.
Anytime.
We will.
Anytime. I'll tell you how many books sell as a result of this.
Exactly.
I heard you on the radio. I wouldn't buy anything from you if you're gonna.
It doesn't matter, Rick. We're here for you now.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you,
And
Yoje. Can I at least show the?
No, I have a face for radio. That's it. I want to thank our listeners, our literally loving listeners, and I have a nice surprise for you.
Let's turn the.
I have a nice surprise for you next week. We have a nice amateur writer from Divacha, so tune in next week. And Rick,
is that children's book guy?
It's not the children's book guy. It's a nice amateur writer. So
I know some writers in Divacha.
One
writer in. Well, is it Divacha or the Karst
No,
around
it's
there?
Divacha.
In Divacha, okay.
You have to listen next week, Rick.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.